This week on ANN, a religious liberty festival in Brazil keeps freedom of belief in the public eye.
A groundswell of support for humanitarian work in Myanmar.
And an advocate for the disabled community makes history in Jamaica.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, a weekend festival in Sao Paulo, Brazil, was an opportunity to highlight the benefits of freedom of belief. Novo Temple Media Center has this report.
A time to celebrate religious liberty and freedom. Freedom of expression and freedom of worship. Last Saturday, the leaders of the various religious segments in Brazil gathered in the city of São Paulo for the second International Festival of Religious Liberty.
É sumamente importante a gente falar sobre liberdade religiosa e esse segundo festival é um momento para a gente abrir um espaço para a manifestação pública da importância da liberdade religiosa.
Na realidade, esse ato ele é uma reafirmação da liberdade religiosa que já está garantida pela Constituição brasileira.
For Brazil's Secretary of State Gilberto Carvalho, the commitment to religious freedom must go beyond the concept of respect.
Uma democracia só se funda profundamente, se funda com firmeza quando ela é baseada, sustentada por valores como essa questão do respeito ao diálogo, do respeito ao outro, não importa a orientação da pessoa, não importa as crenças.
The world leader of the Seventh-day Adventists tributes to God and the civil authorities the opportunity his fellow brethren enjoy to express themselves freely.
So important to keep reminding ourselves that religious freedom is a gift from God and that it must be nurtured. You must have constant vigilance. You must always be watching to make sure that freedom of conscience and religious liberty is given prominence.
And raising the banner of religious liberty means assuring that all have the same right.
Nós temos nossa visão, cremos no que está na palavra de Deus, mas não devemos fazer disso motivo de conflito, de batalha, discórdia ou divisão. O primeiro ponto é esse, é defender com respeito. E segundo lugar, é aceitar que as pessoas sejam diferentes de nós. Quando pelas nossas palavras e atitudes nós somos educados ao tratar o que cremos e respeitando o que os outros creem, nós estamos dando um grande passo prático para defender liberdade religiosa.
The founding principle of the law of God and the law of men who believe that equality is only possible through liberty has not always been a right enjoyed by all, which makes this event that happens in São Paulo, Brazil, a special opportunity for those who want to express their faith, to say liberty is a right for all people.
Student advocates of Donor Day in Kiev, Ukraine, are raising awareness of an annual event that helps stock local blood banks. More than 400 students from the National Academy of Internal Affairs in Kiev took part in Donor Day action, donating their blood to medical organizations. This tradition has become an annual event in this educational institution where hundreds of teachers and students feel necessity in helping citizens of Ukraine this way.
Працівники міліції зобов'язані допомагати людям не тільки будучи на посту, а й в інших життєвих ситуаціях. Це є як одна з можливостей допомогти людям.
Many medical organizations call this educational institution for help. It's said that the heads of the academy and students always show understanding in this case. Moreover, some young people come to a blood donor center for donation without being asked by their administrators more than one time outside of regular hours in the academy.
Есть люди, которые приходят уже и второй, и третий год подряд. Иногда бывает, курсанты приходят, и не тогда, когда проводятся акции.
Нас не примушують, ми самі виявляємо бажання, підходимо до керівництва нашої академії. Даний захід дуже сподобався, здавав кров перший раз за своє життя. Почуваю себе чудово, навіть краще, ніж до цього.
Я вже второй раз здаю кров, і все нормально.
Не страшно, ні?
Ні. Я люблю допомагати людям.
Спочатку так страшно було перед тим, як йшов, а далі вже сама процедура спокійно, думав собі про щось приємне.
Doctors say this procedure is not just an act of charity, but it is also healthy for those who donate blood. It stimulates the immune system and strengthens the organism itself. Many are afraid to participate, but doctors say there is nothing to fear. Everything usually goes well. The most important is to not ignore the following. Only individuals who weigh more than 50 kilograms should donate blood. Do not eat kinds of food such as fatty, fried, smoked, pickled, or marinated. After blood donation, do not have any physical activities for approximately an hour. Think that your blood can save someone's life.
Бывают такие ситуации, к сожалению, когда ничего, кроме донорской крови, не может спасти жизнь человека. И мне приятно, что Академия принимает серьезное участие в воспитании подрастающего поколения в духе милосердия.
A grassroots project in Myanmar, or Burma, is drawing attention and support from the Department of International Development in the United Kingdom. The British Union Conference Communication Department sent this report.
The Secretary of State selected ADRA from a short list of non-government organizations that work in international development. And she selected ADRA in particular for two reasons. First of all, the project is in Myanmar. And secondly, it's a project that deals with job creation and income security. And she's very keen on that. And that was also apparent during the visit, that she is very keen on seeing developing countries increase the jobs, the security of living. During this visit, we were able to present the project that we are doing in Myanmar. We went into the technical details. She was very involved in what we are doing. She was also very aware of what we are doing. One of the things that stood out for her, which I think is something that we can be very proud of as ADRA, is that ADRA is a grassroots organization. And with grassroots, we basically mean it's an organization that works first and foremost with beneficiaries on the ground, to let them decide what would help them to overcome poverty, what would help them to end the cycle of poverty in their lives. And for Justine Greening, this was very important, that ADRA as an organization deals with the people first, before it starts developing project proposals.
Delegates of the Swiss Bible Society have unanimously elected a Seventh-day Adventist to serve as the organization's president. Redo Mayer replaces Jacob Bosch, who recently retired. Mayer is a pastor and theologian. The Seventh-day Adventist Church has been a member of the Swiss Bible Society since 1982. The Society supports and promotes the translation, publishing, and distribution of Bibles and biblical literature in Switzerland and worldwide. Its goal is to make the Bible available to everyone in simple, modern language.
And finally in the news, a Seventh-day Adventist made history last week when he was appointed president of the Jamaican Senate. Floyd Morris is the first visually impaired person to hold the post. Morris is well known in Jamaica for his advocacy on behalf of the disabled community. He says one of his main goals of this parliamentary year is to pass the National Disability Act, which he has promoted since 1998 when he became Jamaica's first blind senator. Morris joins other Adventists in the country who hold prominent posts throughout the government and business. The island nation's population is roughly 10% Adventist.
Coming up, why your personality could be sabotaging your fitness goals.
All day long, I solve problems. It's nuts and bolts and grease. And I love it. But at the end of the day, I think about the world's problems. I wonder why we're all here and how it will end. And I found something that makes sense of it all. Takes the nuts and bolts of history and paints a bigger picture. Now, I have hope.
Well, one of the areas in children that's been the most gratifying to me is the blind kids. And these children are children that have full trust. When we built our first blind school in Bobley, we took several of the kids from children to have them examinated to see if they could have the transplant. And I'll never forget the little girl. And Dorothy Watts asked her, "What do you want to see if your operation is successful?" And she said, "Well, I felt a cat, I petted a cow, I want to see Jesus." And when she was told that her operation couldn't be successful, she said, "Well, it's okay, I'll see him in heaven."
All I could see was my husband's body just sinking to the bottom. That day, I will never forget. And that prayer was the hardest prayer I've ever said in my life.
Welcome back. Vibrant Life magazine gives Adventists a way to share tips for abundant, healthy living with their friends and neighbors. This month, Heather Quintana has advice on finding an exercise that matches your personality.
You know you're supposed to exercise, but it's hard to stick with the program, right? I tried racquetball once, and that hard rubber ball seemed like it was attacking me from every direction. It may not have helped my heart health when I quit that program, but it did help my nerves. Our next issue of Vibrant Life features an article that I wish I had read before I went to the racquetball court. It's called, "What's the Right Exercise for Your Personality?" It says that most of us give up because we fail to find an exercise that matches our personality type. Of course, you've heard of a hard-driving type A personality. They will enjoy a different type of physical activity than a laid-back type B personality. And there's another way to find a good exercise match. All you have to do is take a look at your psychosocial needs. Now, don't let that hyphenated word scare you. It just means take a look at what motivates you to do your best. Some of us are motivated by a desire to achieve, others by playfulness or by a search for meaning. For example, if you're motivated by playfulness, you'll enjoy activities that are game-like, such as volleyball or horseshoes. And you'll be discouraged by repetitive activities like running on a treadmill. The article includes a questionnaire that helps you pinpoint your personality type and motivation. Maybe it won't be so hard to find an exercise plan that you'll want to stick with week after week. All you have to do is find your match.
Hundreds of technology and communication professionals met in Dubai last week for the Global Adventist Internet Network Conference. Marvin King has highlights on some of the social media campaigns the group discussed.
What if there was visual consistency in our presence on the web? Can we combine the best traits of who we are as Adventists and build a framework of guidelines for brand consistency at the same time? Andrew King, web manager for the Adventist World Church Communication Department, gave a live demo of plans for a redesign of the Adventist Church's flagship site, adventist.org. The plans highlight how visual cues play a role in letting site visitors know who Adventists really are. The site will also include templates and collaboration tools for other church entities to get involved, even down to local churches. Keep an eye out for the redesigned adventist.org in October of this year. The heartbreaking story of the false imprisonment of Adventist pastor Monteiro and church member Bruno Ama was told by Dwayne Leslie, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Adventist World Church. Mr. Leslie shared the efforts behind an international social media campaign aimed at garnering public awareness and inviting a call to action. 1 million signatures are needed to take a petition for the men's release to the government in Togo. To get involved, visit prayfortogo.com and start sharing the campaign on Facebook and Twitter. And lastly, it was heralded as the church's largest social media event. Global Youth Day happened on March 16 of this year. The one-day event challenged youth to opt out of attending church that day and instead be the sermon by performing community service. Young people worldwide donated blood, visited hospitals, fed policemen, and even renovated a local orphanage. By publishing more than 10,000 videos on Facebook and Twitter, the young people reached nearly 4 million people on the web, with top web traffic coming from countries such as Indonesia, Philippines, and Papua New Guinea. Global Youth Day is scheduled to take place annually with even more coordinated efforts around the world. And those are some of GAIN's top stories. To watch all the talks on the device of your choice and find out more info on next year's conference in India, go to gain.adventist.org.
The current issue of Dynamic Steward explores how Christians can impact the marketplace. Larry Evans has more.
It has been said that Jesus wasn't crucified in a cathedral between two candles, but on a cross between two thieves. This is a reminder that the real evidence of one's Christianity isn't found while sitting in the pews, but rather when mixing with others, wherever that might be. The current issue of the Dynamic Steward is all about God's stewards in the marketplace. If you haven't subscribed to the free internet version, we invite you to do so today using the address on the screen. The authors of this issue share insights for everyday Christians who live and work in a business environment. We also interview the Adventist CEO of what started out to be a very small health food company. Today it has grown to the point where it has become the #1 and #2 cereal in both Australia and New Zealand. But it's not stopping there. Health and wellness for the entire nation is now its focus. But there's more packed into this issue as well. Don't miss this free issue. Write or call us at the address or number on your screen.
Adventist scientists say the process of photosynthesis points to intelligent design. Guide magazine Nature columnist Rich Aguilera explains.
Hi, Rich Aguilera here, and today I'm in the woods just breathing in some of this fresh air. The air is so fresh here because this is where the air is made. The process is called photosynthesis. It's one of the miracles of nature. God created humans to need to breathe fresh air, but the stuff that we exhale, that's actually carbon dioxide. It's like bad, used up air. The first thing that plants need is sunlight. You can't see sunlight, but these plants are designed to absorb that sunlight and turn it into energy. They're also designed to absorb that used up air, carbon dioxide. The roots at the bottom absorb the water and the minerals. The plant takes all those things, and here's the amazing part, it converts all that into plant food, and the leaves release new air for us to breathe. Photosynthesis. Each plant is an amazing, complex little air-making machine. Complex machines don't create themselves. Somebody, a creator, made them. You want to get to know God better? Study His artwork. Nature. See ya.
Still ahead on ANN, why Hope Channel administrators are seeking greater unity for the global television network.
I'm hoping that to involve our children and to inspire them not just to read, but also to share this wonderful book with many other friends of theirs. I'd like to encourage all presidents and leaders throughout our worldview, come and get this book and also distribute them for children, because evangelizing children should be one of our top priorities.
I pray for me to listen, learn more about Jesus, and read more about the Bible. My grandma's cat is old and I don't want it to die. I pray for that. I pray for my family. Please pray at 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, 7 days a week.
It's the all-new, updated In Prayer app, reminding you to pray at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Prayer requests and stories, the daily devotional, all the latest videos, and social media integration through Facebook and Twitter, plus many more features. Now available free for iPhone, iPad, and Android.
When reading through The Great Hope, I found a phrase that has given me courage and hope. I'd like to share that. God's love for His children during the period of their severest trial is as strong and tender as in the days of their sunniest prosperity. But it's needed for them to be placed in the furnace of fire. Their earthliness must be consumed, that the image of Christ may be perfectly reflected. This gives me hope because I see that God's love never falters. And even though I may find myself in situations that I've brought on myself, God is there to see me through. When I look back, I see how He's led me in trials, and I see how I have been strengthened by going through them. God loves me and He sees something special, and that gives me hope.
Welcome back. Administrators of the church's official television network recently met to discuss the benefits of a unified mission and identity worldwide. Carmen McMurdy reports.
In 2003, Hope Channel began as a very small operation, one small studio and a handful of staff. Today, 10 years later, Hope Channel is a global network of 15 channels throughout the world. That's 15 channels taking God's message to people everywhere in dozens of different languages. Hope Channel has grown so quickly with so little. Such growth could only happen through the amazing grace of God. Acknowledging this growth over the past 10 years, Hope Channel managers met in Dubai in May 2013 to discuss shared goals and a shared mission that emphasized their role in the overall evangelistic goals of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Several days of discussion resulted in a network strategic plan and a vision of where Hope Channel sees itself by the year 2020. Also, a key outcome of the meetings was this mission statement that unifies all 15 Hope Channels with one purpose. The mission of Hope Channel is to offer God's good news for a better life today and for eternity. Hope Channel encourages its viewers and supporters to embrace its mission, to use its programs to offer everyone they know God's good news for a better life today and for eternity. For Hope Channel, I'm Carmen McMurdy. Are you looking for a place to share your ideas and create a community around common interests? Andrew King has a solution on this week's Tech Corner.
You may have heard about people talking about blogging. I wanted to give you a very brief overview of what it is and share some ideas of how you can get involved. Blogs started as online diaries, where people would write much like they would in a real diary, except these online diaries could be read by anyone in the world. Over time, they've become much more than personal diaries. You can think of them now as personal publishing systems, and people tend to write about what interests them. So you'll find blogs on food, and more specifically restaurant reviews or how to cook, and it keeps getting more specific. There are blogs devoted to only writing about how to cook vegetarian food, for example. Because blogs don't have the financial overhead of traditional publishing systems, small blogs can be run by one person in their free time. You can find an incredible amount of granularity in the main topics. So, how can you get involved? Well, what are you most passionate about? Here are a few examples. How about a blog on Adventist healthy living, or Adventist history, or our Adventist educational system, Adventist evangelism, Adventist missionaries, Adventist pathfinders, or Adventist youth? Starting a blog on any of these topics is a great way for you to share all your knowledge and create a place for other people to come together around a shared interest.
Adventist Supporting Ministry, it is written, is providing cataract surgery for disadvantaged communities in India. John Bradshaw has this report.
So far this year, It Is Written has had a very busy year in the area of public evangelism. In April, we're in Prague in the Czech Republic. This is an historic series in a city that is not only beautiful but historic itself. Prague is a difficult place. 20 years ago, the people here were enmeshed in communism, and now they're enmeshed in materialism. I hope you'll pray for the work that's taking place in Prague. Already this year, we've been in Mexico and Costa Rica holding public evangelistic meetings, and we've seen God do wonderful, wonderful things. And also, I've had the chance to visit India to see what's taking place with It Is Written's Eyes for India project. Simple cataract surgery is giving sight back to people who have lost their sight. Not only are they seeing physically, but they're able to see better spiritually as they've been touched by the loving hand of Jesus and received healing free of charge from people who love God and serve Him. Later this year, there is more in the area of public evangelism. I want to encourage you to share Jesus any way you can. God bless you.
Now let's turn to Benjamin Baker for a look at Adventist history. This week, Adventists in the South Pacific rescue a Navy lieutenant who would one day become a U.S. president.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. During this week in 1917, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, 35th President of the United States, was born. But JFK nearly died on the night of August 2, 1943, while performing naval duties during World War II in the South Pacific. An enemy destroyer rammed into his patrol boat, PT-109, splitting it in half and killing 2 crew members instantly. The rest abandoned the boat as it went up in flames. Clinging to debris, Kennedy and his second in command, George Ross, were separated from others and marooned on a deserted island called Nauru with scant prospects of rescue and terrified of enemy soldiers. On Sabbath morning, 3 Seventh-day Adventist Solomon Islanders named Katarangosa, Moses, and Joseph heard of the plight of the American soldiers while on their way to church and quickly devised a plan to rescue the stranded men. Recruiting 5 friends, they loaded a canoe with food and other necessities and paddled furiously through treacherous tides and coral reefs to Nauru Island. After a tense search, they found Kennedy and Ross, fed and cleaned them. Then they ferried Kennedy to a secret hideaway in their canoe, covering him when enemy planes flew low overhead. As the sun set in the west, the Adventist heroes sang hymns to close the Sabbath. Kennedy's voice blended with theirs in praise to God. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, friend us on Facebook. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to more stories, photos, and videos. Just visit Facebook/Adventist News.
Our good news for this week comes from the Old Testament book of Lamentations. The passage says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.